Welcome to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where you can learn and be inspired by real-world examples of how technology is transforming businesses and reshaping industries in a language everyone can understand. Here is your host, Neil C. Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast. Now, a recent study found that COVID-19 has accelerated the adoption of digitization of customer interactions by several years. But where do businesses begin to implement tech solutions that help them build their own communities? And as you know by now, I always say that technology works best when it brings people together. And it's the role that technology plays in bringing people together to build these communities that really intrigues me. So today I've invited Michelle MacCarthy, Global Head of Customer Success at Unit 4, onto the podcast today to explore this topic in more detail. And we're going to discuss how these changes are here to stay and how companies must adapt by building online customer communities. And for those of you hearing about Unit 4 for the first time, their enterprise software supports customers in delivering exceptional people experience to their customers. And by customers, everyone from students to professionals to the citizens and constituents that they serve. So when I learned that the company is also on a mission to transform work to be more meaningful and inspiring through software that's self-driving, adaptive and intuitive, while intelligently automating administrative tasks while providing easy access to the answers people need, that was more than enough for me to invite Michelle on the podcast to find out more. It sounds pretty cool, right? So buckle up and hold on tight so I can beam your ears all the way to Chicago, where Michelle MacCarthy is waiting to speak with us now. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Yes. So my name is Michelle MacCarthy, and I'm the Global Head of Customer Success at Unit 4. My journey has really consisted of roles in B2C marketing in the retail and tech spaces, as well as B2B SaaS, leading customer success organizations. What really motivates me is understanding a customer's business priorities, the problems that they're trying to solve for, and the value that they're trying to create. At the end of the day, I'm charged with ensuring that customers are achieving maximum adoption and satisfaction with Unit 4's offerings. My role is equal parts transformation in driving customer centricity throughout the organization and in creating best-in-class experience that drives retention, expansion, advocacy, and making sure that we're driving successful outcomes in partnership with our customers.
And you mentioned your journey there, Michelle. And one of the questions I always like to ask the guests is where their passion for technology came from. So I'm curious, can you remember what put you on the path that you're on today?
Yeah, absolutely. I've always been fascinated by how quickly things can evolve. And I would have to say that my passion for technology really started first as a consumer and then later as a marketer of products and services. I first realized that the critical role technology played in the complex and evolving retail ecosystem. So, marketers face problems around staying ahead of changing consumer research needs, the competition from a dynamic pricing and supply chain perspective. How do you communicate with customers in key moments that matter? How do you anticipate their next logical purchase, track their number of trips, their segmentation, and understand their loyalty status? And then how do you communicate all that in a method that they prefer in a way that feels completely personalized? Data has always helped to inform what technology really brings to the table and enables. So, technology plays an important part, of course, in ensuring customer success. And for example, our next generation ERP solution, ERPX, is designed to benefit customers by providing better insights so that they can become more productive and increasingly engaged. It also delivers a wide range of tools and innovations to help support their growth as they mature, and it helps them thrive as the market begins to regain momentum.
And you mentioned there about being fascinated by how quickly things evolve. And of course, nothing has evolved quicker than the last 12 months. And a recent study found that COVID-19 has actually accelerated the adoption of digitization of customer interactions by actually several years, which is just mind-blowing. But did you see that study, and did anything surprise you in that?
I did see that study, Neil, and the results of the study, although very interesting to have it all bundled up that way, I think, they're not extremely surprising because Changes happen quickly during a crisis, and a lot can be accomplished in a brief period of time when it's a must have path forward to doing business and ensuring that customers are able to be well supported and that they continue to achieve their desired outcomes. Digitalization, in many aspects, will stay for the long term. And I think it's going to especially remain for how we interact with our customers.
I was going to ask there, do you think these changes are likely to stay, at least for our immediate future?
Yeah, I think, the tools that we've put in place have allowed us to scale our business, from working remotely to our hybrid engagement with customers. And it's really allowing us, albeit a different way of engaging, different accessibility and more accessibility in some cases. There's many creative ways that organizations and Unit 4 are increasing our engagement with employees and customers while working fully remotely.
And I think one of the things that is so important right now is the sense of community, whether that be in the office or outside of the office. But how can businesses adapt by building their own online customer communities?
Yeah, I think when building an online community, you want to first start by ensuring that it's set up in the best way to facilitate a peer-to-peer network where customers can engage, where they can share best practices firsthand, where they can sounding board with each other around new projects that they're working on, and really explain how they've approached similar challenges in their business. It needs to be a very welcoming environment where knowledge is kind of seated within the content. And it has to be content that your audience is engaging with. So items like help articles, blog posts, customer outcome stories, and the purpose of the community also has to be clear so it remains meaningful to the audience. I think what's really cool about a customer community is that it can take many different shapes. It can allow you to work pretty dynamically to answer the call of the customer. You can group your content by industry vertical or by product or by region, and this allows you to really communicate with intention and purpose. It also allows you a quick way for customers to find what they need and filter out any of the noise that they don't.
There is a lot of doom and gloom on the news at the moment, 24-hour rolling news channels, but there is so much exciting things happening in every industry, especially around technology. So is there anything in particular that excites you about the road ahead?
Yes, well, first, customer success, it's such a dynamic field in that it not only has a true seat at the table, but it's also a catalyst for bringing the voice of the customer into the organization as a bias for action. What a great position if you're someone that's excited about creating value, solving complex opportunities in a dynamic environment, and uncovering growth opportunities for the business. I would also share what I'm excited about is in my short time at Unit 4, it's really proven to be an accelerating ride. We've had quite an incredible 2021 to date, and I'm proud of the practice that we're expanding and building in the customer success field and the organization's commitment on creating a best-in-class experience with ERPX, as I talked about, the recent TA acquisition that we had, and our poised growth and trajectory in North America. It's just really been an exciting time to be here and be a part of all of that.
And another question I always like to ask my guests at the end of a podcast is if there was a particular song that has inspired them in the past, helped them in their career, or helped them get their head in the zone before going out on stage, or just reminds them of their own personal journey in technology. So if I was to ask you that question, is there a particular song that springs to mind, and why would you choose that song?
Yeah, I mean, so I love music. So it's really tough to pick just one, but
Yeah.
one of the songs is, Don't Stop Believing by Journey. I just think whenever I hear that, I smile and I think, the lyrics to it are just very inspiring and it's very upbeat. If I could share another, I think before I go out on stage, something that I like kind of to pump me up is a song that's called Good to Be Alive. Hallelujah, and it's by Andy Grammer. So that's another one that I think just kind of gets your feet moving and your mind right for being out in front of people.
Oh, two great choices there. I'm almost doing air grabs here and wanting to burst in the song myself, but I will restrain myself before I let you go. Can you remind the listeners of where they can find you guys online, and also contact your team if you've got any questions about Unit 4 and the kind of work that you're doing there?
Yeah, absolutely. You can find us online at unit4.com, or you can follow us on Twitter at Unit4 Global, LinkedIn at Unit4, and on Facebook at Unit4 Business Software.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today, Michelle. It's been great learning about how companies must adapt by building these online customer communities and also the critical role that technology is playing in that. So I wish you the best of luck for the future. I'd love to see how this journey continues to evolve, but more than anything, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you so much, Neil, for having me.
The communities that we discussed here allow large organisations to collaborate with others in the industry on a peer-to-peer level. And that helps with everything from accessibility to information sharing. And what I love about this is how communities can be grouped by industry or by the service that they're currently employing. But ultimately, it's the role of technology and how it is not only building these communities, it's bringing them to life. And it's that fusion between the best of technology and humans that really excite me. So thank you so much to Michelle for discussing customer communities and why organisations should get started. And I guess everyone listening to this podcast is also part of a community that we've created. I serve you loyally every day without fail with another interview, and we learn from each other. It's such a powerful medium. But over to you. Wherever you listen to this podcast, how are you or your organisation using technology to build a community? I'd love for you to send me your answers, your thoughts, even further questions. Let's keep this conversation going. If you'd like to come on the podcast, there's an invite for you there too. So all you need to do is send me a quick email to techblogwriter@outlook.com. My website is techblogwriter.co.uk. You'll find over 1,500 interviews and links to social channels and all that stuff. So please, I implore you all, even if it's just to say hello, I listen to the podcast, please send me that message. But I'm afraid that's it for today's episode. So thank you, Michelle, for sharing your insights today and 2 great tunes that I will be adding to the Tech Talks Daily Spotify playlist. But other than that, I'll return again tomorrow with another guest. So thank you for listening. And until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thank you for listening to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast with Neil C. Hughes. Remember, technology works best when it brings people together.